Welcome everyone. My name is Sandra Hughes. I am a consultant for NexTec Group, and today we are going to go through the year-end close in Dynamicsgp. We will be mentioning making a backup numerous times through this process. This is a SQL backup that should be running nightly in your system. If you perform your close first thing in the morning, you should have the backup from the prior evening. You can get your IT department to run a backup prior to closing, or you can go inside GP using the Microsoft Dynamics drop-down menu, go to Maintenance, Backup. You must be logged in as the SA or the Dyn SA, and this file is going to be rather large, so you might want to consider your file location. Recommended closing order is as follows. We're going to start with inventory. You want to make sure that all your sales order processing, invoices and returns, and your purchase order processing, receipts and returns have been posted for the year. Once that is complete, you can close your accounts receivable and accounts payable. Once the final accounts payable check run is complete, you can process your 1099s. At this point in time, fixed assets can also be processed. Once all your modules are closed, you can close the general ledger. It is highly recommended that you close all modules, but only the general ledger and the fixed assets are required. Payroll is a completely independent of this schedule. However, the payroll year-end update includes changes for the 1099 form, so it should be considered in the process. To recap, sales invoices and purchase order receipts need to be posted for the year. Then you can close accounts receivable, accounts payable and 1099s, inventory, fixed assets, general ledger, and finally payroll. This concludes the recommended closing order in Dynamicsgp. Now we're going to get into more details on the accounts payable module year-end close. We're first going to go through the timing, then we're going to go through what the close does, and then we're going to go through the close procedures. The timing. The fiscal should be done at the end of the company's fiscal year before posting any transactions to the new fiscal year. Calendar should be done at the end of the calendar year, 12/31, before posting any transactions to the new calendar year. Post prior year transactions. You can enter and save transactions in batches for the new year. And you can process the 1099s after the close. It is recommended to go ahead and close payable management. It is not completely date sensitive. Skipping the close will skew the amount since last close view on the customer summary. These are the numbers that pull into your smart list. So if you do use these, we can fix this. You just need to reach out to support. You can use the fiscal year and the calendar year views as an option if you need to see these numbers as a date-sensitive view. Again, these will not be the numbers that pull into your smart list. It is only the amount since last close view that pulls into smart list. What this does is on the calendar year close, it transfers the 1099 amount from the year-to-date to the last year-to-date column in the amount since last close view in the vendor summary window. Fiscal transfers all other amounts from the year-to-date to the last year-to-date column in this view. The procedures. First, you post the year-end transactions. You can enter and save the New Year's transactions in batches. You want to complete all your payables month-end processes. You want to make a year-end backup. perform the year-end close, and then close the physical periods in the payables for payables. This should be a monthly process. Make a post year-end backup in SQL. Now we're going to go look at the payables close demo. In purchasing, I'm going to show you the vendor summary window. It's here under this yearly tab. This is the amount since last closed view. If you want a date sensitive one, you simply pick this and calculate, and it will give you the date sensitive numbers. We're going to perform the year-end close now. I'm going to pick all. We're going to do both at the same time, and I'm going to close the year. I'm going to print the report to the screen. It is suggested that you print this report to a PDF and save it somewhere. Once the close is complete, come back over to our summary window. And you can see how it's transferred our numbers from the year-to-date to the last year-to-date. From here, you want to go to Administration, Physical Periods, and you want to close payables once the year-end close has been done. We're going to move on to 1099s. 1099s are updated when invoices and payments are posted if the vendor is set as a 1099 vendor. If you change a vendor mid-year, it can cause the vendor's 1099 amounts to be understated. There is no magnetic media in GP. You want to print the 1099 amounts report and validate it. You have a few options if you need to make changes. You have the Edit 1099 Transaction Detail. This is the one that's most recommended. You can use the Update 1099 Information Utility for mass changes, and edit the 1099 directly using the 1099 Details or Summary inquiries. You will need to install the year-end update for GP 2016 and higher, and then you're going to print your 1099s. So we're going to do our 1099 demo now. As I stated, you can go and print your 1099 edit list by simply coming under Routines, Print 1099. When you come into this window, you've got two options here. You can print the forms or print your edit list. The print button is the edit list. So this is your 1099s. If you need to make changes to this, you have several options here. The first and most recommended one is the Edit 1099 Transaction Information window under Transactions. Now, if I were to hit all edit transactions for this vendor, as you can see, I've got other invoices that were not listed as 1099 amounts. So when these 1099 amounts are paid, when these invoices are paid, there will not be an amount applied to the 1099. If this is incorrect, you can update it by transaction here and simply hit Process. So what this will do is if it has already been paid, it will update the 1099 amount. And if it is not, it will set it to update the 1099 amount once it is paid. This is the most recommended way because you can change any unpaid items so that they will update the 1099 amount correctly when paid. Another way is to do it by summary here in the 1099 details. You can bring up your 1099 vendor. I would recommend making all your changes in December, but you can make it in the month it happened. And it really should be the amounts paid during that month. In both of these screens, the vendor does have to be set to a 1099 vendor in order to appear in the screen. Once you've made all your edits and you are happy with your 1099s, that's when you're going to come back to your Print 1099 window and you're going to hit Print Forms. These do fit to most standard forms, so you probably need to get those ordered if you have not done so already. And if any minor changes need to be made, just let us know. We can move a field up or down if it needs so. It also will print your 1096 form. And that concludes the accounts payable close. Now we're going to go into more detail about the accounts receivable module year-end close. We're going to go through the timing as well as what the close does and the procedures. Fiscal year-end close should be done at the end of the company's fiscal years, but before posting any new transactions. The calendar should be done at the calendar year-end, 12/31, before posting any transactions for the new calendar year. You should post all prior year transactions, and you can save all transactions to batches for the new year. We highly recommend the close as receivables management is not completely date sensitive. Skipping the close will skew the view on the amount since last close, as well as some smart list objects. Use a date sensitive fiscal or calendar year close to see the numbers in those views. Calendar year-end close clears the calendar year-to-date finance charge and moves them to the last year calendar field in the customer finance charge summary. The fiscal year-end close moves all other amounts than the calendar year-to-date finance charge amount to the last year column in the customer summary using the amount since last close view. The fiscal close will reset the year-to-date fields. Your procedures, you want to enter and post all sales and AR transactions for the current year. Save but do not post transactions for the new year. You want to complete your sales month-end procedures. Make a pre-year-end backup. Perform the year-end close. Close the fiscal period. This should be a part of your monthly process. Close the tax year. And make a post-year-end backup. On the sales tax, you want to make sure all of your sales and receivables are posted for the prior year before you close. We're going to jump over and do a demo real quick. First, I want to show you the summary window here. As you can see, you have your year-to-date and last year-to-date. Next, I'm going to come over into routines and select year-end close. I'm going to close all and hit process and yes. Print the report, and you may want to save this. Once the close is complete, I'll bring you back into the summary. So you can see that it's cleared the year-to-date field and moved it to the last year. Once you have done the year-end close, you're going to want to come over to your physical periods and close sales. You're also going to come into the routines area and close the year-end tax. Check the box and hit process. Print the reports. And you can save these. once they're printed. And that completes our accounts receivable year-end close. We're going to get into more detail on the inventory module year-end close. We will first go through the timing, we will go through what the close does, and finally, the closing procedure. Timing. This should be done before the transactions are posted for the new year. You need to post all of your sales order processing and purchase order processing transactions, as they will affect inventory quantities. And it is okay to enter and save new transactions in batches. What's this going to do? It's going to transfer all summarized current year quantity, cost, and sales amounts to the last year for the items which you are keeping your summarized sales history. It updates each item's beginning quantity from the quantity on hand at each site. Zeroes the quantity field on the quantity items maintenance, and gives you the option to remove discontinued items, remove sold receipts, remove sold lot attributes, and update the item's standard cost. The procedures are as follows. First, you're going to post all your sales invoices and returns for the current year. You're going to post all the receiving and returns for the current year. You're going to post all the inventory adjustments and transfers for the current year. You're going to complete the physical inventory counts and post the variances. You're going to run the inventory reconcile utility. If you are using SOP and or POP, you're going to run these reconciles on the modules too. The reconcile order should be SOP, POP, and then the inventory reconcile. You're going to print your reports. I would print the stock status report, purchase receipts report, turnover report, transaction history report, serial number list, lot number list. Now we're going to take a SQL backup, and then we're going to perform the year-end close. You're going to go to the physical periods and close inventory, which should be part of your monthly process. And you're going to make a final backup. Now the options here at year-end close are as follows. You can remove discontinued items. This removes the items that are at 0. It will remove all the transaction history for these items. There are some reports that will print for discontinued items. If discontinued items are a part of a kit or a component of a BOM, or if they are a BOM, it will not be removed. You can remove the sales lot attribute. So we'll remove those lot attributes and items that are tracked by lot number and have been completely sold. You can remove the sold receipts and the cost change history. It will remove the receipts that have been completely sold. If you choose to remove, you must enter a cutoff date for them to remove prior to. You can update the item's standard cost. If the item is using standard cost, the cost will be updated with the current cost or the last purchase cost. Okay, we are now going to go through the year-end close. Jump over here to GP. First, I want to come over here and I want to show you the history screen. As you can see, you've got your current year and your last year numbers here. You should run reconcile as I stated. If you're using SOP, you're going to come to sales, reconcile, remove sales documents. You're going to reconcile the sales documents and hit process. These can be rather long processes to run, so I'm not going to do it at this point in time, but do keep that in mind and allow for that if you feel like you've got a pretty big file. We're going to go to purchasing and do the same thing for the purchasing module. Utilities, reconcile purchasing documents. You're going to do all and hit process. Once those two are complete, we're going to come back to inventory And we're going to run the reconcile process for inventory. To do the physical inventory, you're going to go get your stock count schedule here under transactions. You're going to have one set up. You can name the ID, and you can use the mass add to add items until you get everything that needs to be counted. Once you have all your items added, you can hit your start count. Now this will print a series of reports here. Get an exception report if there's any problems. You'll get a stock count sheet. It is up to you if you want this on-hand quantity printed on this sheet. Once that is done, we close this screen. Once the count is finished, you come back over into the stock count entry screen. We're going to bring up our stock count, which we started. And from here, you're going to be able to put those items in. So if I hit verified, come in here and I counted 1, and I counted 103. Everything's okay here. I can go ahead and process. We had no adjusting entries, which is usually a good thing. If you did have adjustments, you would have to go over into transactions, batches, and post the adjustment prior to closing your year. Once you have finished that, there's a series of reports I suggest you run, starting with the stock status report, the purchase receipts report, the turnover report, and the transaction history report. After those reports have been run, you need to come to routines and year-end close. You have your options to remove your discontinued items, the sold lot attributes, sold receipts, and cost change history. You also can update your standard cost from the most current cost. Once you have made your choices, you hit process and print the reports. Probably want to print this report and save it. Once this is done, we come back over to our history. And you can see how it's cleared out my last year amount. Once that is complete, you come to administration and close the physical period for inventory. This completes the inventory year-end close. We are now going to get into more detail on the fixed asset module year-end close. We're first going to go through the timing, then we will go through what the close does, and finally the closing procedures. Timing. This is done after you complete all the additions, retirements, and depreciation for the current year. It needs to be done after the year-end payable close. You will not be able to process new transaction in fixed assets until the year is completed. Each book can be closed separately, but all must be closed before processing fixed asset in the new year. What this is going to do is in your asset general information window, it's going to take the year-to-date maintenance amount is cleared from the expanded maintenance date window, and the quantity is copied from the begin quantity to the expanded quantity window. The book window, it's going to clear the year-to-date depreciation amount. Cost basis will be copied to the begin year cost base field, and the life-to-date depreciation is copied to the begin reserve field. The salvage value is copied to the begin salvage field. The current physical year is set in the new year in the book, And in GP Dynamics 2015 and higher, you do get a fixed assets year-end report. The procedure is to complete all the additions, retirements, and depreciation of all assets through the last day of the year. Perform the GL posting process, print your reports, verify the fixed asset calendar and quarters are correct, make a backup, and perform the year-end close. Now we're going to move over to GP and do the year-end close. So first, we're going to take a look at one of the books. You see I'm depreciated through the last day of the year here. I'm going to take a look down here under Setup at the calendar. Verify this is correct and that our quarters are correct. Once that is done, we go to Routines, Fixed Asset, and then Year-End to process the year-end close. Select the book you want, hit Insert, and then Continue. This is the report I was mentioned earlier. You probably do want to print and save this somewhere. Once that is done, fixed asset is closed and it has been completed for the year. You are ready to go ahead and process your assets for the next year. We are now going to get into more detail on the General Ledger module year-end close. We will first go through the timing, then we will go through what the close does, and finally the closing procedure. General year-end close should be done after you have completed the year-end close process for all the other modules. The other modules should be closed in the following order: receivables first, then payables, inventory, the company sales tax, fixed assets. Usually these are done after the first month end of the new year. You can still enter transactions to prior year after close. What it does, it's going to update the beginning balance for your balance sheet accounts. It's going to create a closing entry to close out the P&L accounts to your retained earnings. It's going to move all the transactions from the open to the close table. You can remove inactive GL accounts without balance and history. You can clear out unit accounts if they're marked. The physical periods table will be updated to mark the year just closed as a historical year. It automatically closes analytical accounting, and the year-end report prints. This one cannot be reprinted, so you do want to make sure you print it at that time. The General Ledger procedures. You complete the posting procedures and closing procedures for all the other modules. You need to post the final adjusting entries in GL. You can use SmartList to verify your posting types for all of your accounts. This is very important. Your balance sheet accounts will obviously move the balances forward, and your P&L accounts will close out to retain earnings. So we want to make sure those are correct prior to the year-end close. It's always a good idea to reconcile the year. You would also want to verify the GL setup by going to the financial page and making sure you have the correct retained earnings account. And you want to make sure you're maintaining transactional history. You want to print a final detailed trial balance report. Go over to the physical periods table and make sure your new year has been created. And make a backup. Have all of the users exit GP at this time, and then you're ready to perform your year-end close. Once it's done, you probably should close all your physical periods for that series. Okay, we're going to pop over to GP and take a look here. First thing you want to do is probably go to SmartList. Pretty quick and easy to set up a SmartList here under the accounts. You want to search for your posting type, profit and loss in your main account segment. In most cases, it's less than your 3900 series. And then flip it to check your balance sheet, and it should be greater than instead of less than. Either way, if everything's set up correctly, you should have nothing come up. The reconcile is over here under utilities, right here. You do want to just reconcile the year. It usually runs fairly quickly. So I'm just going to reconcile my open year that I'm about to close. And it is done. I'm going to verify the GL setup down here in the Setup General Ledger window. This is where you're going to validate your retained earning account, and you're going to make sure that you're maintaining history here. Next, we're going to go over to administration, and we're going to validate that our next fiscal year is set up. We are closing 2026, so 2027 is here. If it was not here, you could simply type in the year in your last day and hit calculate, and it will populate the window for you. We'll go back to financial. Let's take a look at the summary window. This is 2026. That is my balance right now, and as you can see, 2027 does not have the balance brought forward. So now we're going to do our year-end closing. Here's where I have my option to remove the unused segments and maintain my active accounts. If it's not something you've addressed, I usually just tell you to go ahead and do it. And then we're going to hit close year. If you have reoccurring batches, you are going to get this message. So you should be fairly sure at this point in time that everything is posted. So go ahead and hit continue. Here is the report. This is the one they say you cannot reprint. So you definitely want to verify that your credits and debits do match and print the report and save it. We'll close this window. Go back over here to the summary screen. And now my balance brought forward is here. And that is the General Ledger year-end close. Now we're going to get into more detail on the payroll module year-end close. We will first go through the timing. We will go through what the close does, and finally, the closing procedures. The payroll year-end update. It's a code update. It is going to have your 2020 forms and any new fields for 2021. It's no longer available for GP 2015, and it is already available for GP 2016 and 2018. It must be installed on the server and all workstations, and all GP users must be out while this is happening. You do want to make sure you've got the final 2020 payroll tax update installed. You do this by going to Administration, Setup, System, Payroll Tax. You can also go to the Microsoft Dynamicsgp drop-down menu, select Maintenance, US Payroll Updates, and check for updates to go ahead and install the latest payroll tax update. The 2021 tax update should be done prior to your first 2021 payroll and after you create your 2020 wage file. The payroll year-end procedures are as follows. You're going to verify that you have installed the latest 2020 payroll tax update. Complete all your pay runs for the current year. Complete all your month-end, period-end, quarter-end procedures for the current year. Make a backup. Install the 2020 year-end update if you haven't already. Create the year-end wage file. Make a new backup. And at this point in time, you would probably want to start verifying your W-2s and your 1099-Rs. You can also go ahead and install the payroll tax update for 2021 at this time if you need to go ahead and start your payroll for 2021. Once you get everything validated on your W-2s and your 1099-Rs, you can print them. Also, it is an option for you to file electronically if you're set up with the IRS to do so. You have the option to archive inactive employees through Human Resources, and you should go ahead and have your 2021 fiscal period set up. You do want to go ahead and close the fiscal period for payroll series for 2020 after you've got the close done. And again, you can go ahead and install the 2021 tax update and begin your 2021 payrolls at this point in time. We're going to do a quick little demo here. First, we're going to go to Administration. This is your payroll tax screen here. It's in Administration, Setup, and under System. And you can validate that you have the latest tax update here. Also, you can install the latest tax update by going to the Microsoft Dynamics GP, Maintenance, U.S. Payroll Tax Updates, and then check for tax updates. You will have to have an authorized number to do this automatically. It's generally your main office number. If for whatever reason you don't have it, let us know. I can certainly get that for you. And we can install it manual if we have any problems. It's really quite easy to do. So just let us know if you have any issues installing the latest update. Back over to HR Payroll. We're going to go in here and close our year. Validate you have the correct year. And hit Process. Once it's complete, you're going to come here to the year-end wage report and print your report. And this is where you want to start your validation. Once this year-end wage file is created, you can install your 2021 tax updates. If you do need to edit the W-2s for any reasons, come here into the screen. You've got your options to edit here. Any state tax will be edited in the state window. Local taxes will be edited in the local window. You also can add any information here as you need for your tax sheltered deductions. Once everything is validated and you're good to go, you're going to come to the print window. You're going to select which form down here, printing your W-2s or your transmittal form. You can start a control number. You can also print ranges here if you need to. Just going to go ahead and hit print. These do fit on any standard W-2 forms. So if any edits need to be made to the format, just let us know. It's usually a pretty quick fix. You can reprint these if you have prior years in there. They'll always be out there for you to reprint. Just to do a quick recap, be sure you have the latest 2020 tax update prior to doing your last payroll. Install the year-end update before you create the year-end wage file. You can remove and recreate the year-end wage file. This will clear any of the edits you have made, though, so keep that in mind. You do want to coordinate time with the IT or us to take a lot of backups during this process. And be sure to install the 2021 tax update before you process your 2021 payrolls.